Yo, what is going on, people? Welcome to Throwdown, episode 421. I'm your host, Tony Polanco, and tonight I'm joined by Emilio Lopez.
Sup, people? How's it going?
Chris Seeley.
Hey, what's up, everyone?
Carlos Romero.
Yo.
Brett Murdoch.
What's up, people?
And Brian Manjoma.
No wonder Joanne is so rich. She lives rent-free in everyone's minds.
Oh, man. Is that what the J stands for?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. There we go. Yeah. When you live rent-free in people's heads, that's what happens. Give me a quick second here. I was like, hold on, my mic coming in a little hot. There we go. Now we're ready to good. Isn't that the term, like a hot mic?
Yeah.
I think it's just an active mic.
Yeah.
No, it's hot mic. Hot mic is on.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Oh no. What's it called when you're like, you know?
No. I mean, I think just you coming in a little hot is also the
too hot.
As well. You mean you too hot?
Too hot. All right, people. We are here. No, Adam. He was too tired. The children wore him out. You know.
He's like, yo, man. It's finally catching up to him, man. Gaming all the time, running with the kids, with the wife. He's like, finally. He's human.
I don't know.
Finally, this man is human.
Yeah. Well, it's because his kids are getting older and they're staying up later, you know?
What time? Well, how old are they? Like in the 12-year-old range?
I think they're younger than that, but still, like.
I feel like his oldest is like in the 12 and the,
yeah. I mean, you know better than me, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, granted, me and Adam at 12 years old, we were like fucking breaking night and shit.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. So the kids are already happening.
No, but I mean, he's the way he raises his kids is a little bit different than we sort of grew up. Back in, right now,
he raises them like white people.
I mean, to be honest, to be honest, it's like we would be considered, like all of us would be considered free range kids.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we grew up in a different time. Yeah.
We grew up in a different time, but being especially us in New York, riding the train at young ages.
Yep.
They wouldn't let their kids do that now. He's even said so. He's even sort of afraid of having his girl ride the bus to school.
Yeah.
So like the public bus,
which is interesting.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. All right, man. Let's get into it. We actually have a pretty stacked show today. Even though we're only talking about two topics, it's a stacked show. A lot happened, man. So let's just get the bullshit out of the way. Let's talk about this fucking Nintendo Direct. Nintendo had a Direct. Was it a surprise Direct to everybody? Because I got
no. There was preempt to it. There was a preempt to it,
and then there was rumors before that.
There was rumors before that.
All right, so let's go through what was shown. I'm reading this off of Polygon, so if they miss something, or if I miss something, don't blame me. Blame them.
Don't shoot me, shoot the messenger.
Yeah, but the guys in the chat will let me know if I miss anything. All right, first thing they have listed, and this is not in order because I'm pretty sure they didn't start the show off with Zelda, did they?
No.
It ended with it.
Okay,
it ended with Zelda,
but I guess that's the biggest thing. So yeah, we have Legend of Zelda, the new trailer, and what can you say about this that hasn't already been said? This is actually there is something new. But let's just get to the obvious side of the way. This game looks fucking atrocious. Like it's 2023 and we're accepting this, really?
It's sad because you can definitely feel that switch. Yo, man, that shit's gonna be lighting switches on fire. Like I know the game was looking a little bit rough, but man, look at all the shit that they're trying to throw at you in that thing. Like I'm like. Maybe they'll throw up a new disclaimer on the switches, just like don't blame us if your console lights up.
You can only play for 3 hours and the game stops you before it ignites.
Yeah.
Yo, here's my question.
Yeah.
When games like Hi-Fi Rush look as good as they do, even kind of like having the kind of limitations that they do, what's Nintendo's excuse now?
Well, it's the hardware. It's the hardware.
It's totally the hardware.
Yeah, and again, before anybody
are you telling me the Switch can't run Hi-Fi Rush?
Oh, it could
Switch-
run. It could run Hi-Fi Rush. It just run it at like 720p or something.
Probably 540p. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean,
it'll probably.
yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah,
I mean,
it'll probably run Hi-Fi Rush, but in with lower than 720, it'll probably be like 540.
Yeah, 540,
upscaled. But yeah, it's I watched the trailer. Well, I watched part of the direct and I watched this trailer because this is one of the games that I'm I wouldn't say highly anticipated, but anticipating nonetheless. And the game looks good in terms of what the game is and what it's trying to do. But I'm with Tony, and this is something, and I've been consistent with this since 2017. Just looking at how it looks graphically, it's like we're going backwards. It's it's been a long time since the standards have been set, and Nintendo's still on with their bullshit, showing their flagship game looking like a PSP game.
I think Nintendo is like taking advantage of the goodwill of their audience base by being like, because Nintendo fans are like, it doesn't need to look the best as long as it's fun, and Nintendo's like, it doesn't need to look the best, eh? Cute Pokemon.
Yeah. Okay.
But
You know what? Go ahead. No, because I got to jump in on this. Okay. Now I'm gonna ask a question, right? Just so I understand things, right? What is the reason that companies say, or what is the reason they say for why their games cost $70? Enlighten me. I know I know the answer, but I wanted to see if you guys know. What is the reason? Why do certain games cost $70?
Oh, because inflation, they cost more to make.
Yeah, well, that's one reason. The other thing is, hey, this is for a new console. It needs
next-gen hardware.
Next-gen hardware, so it necessitates a price hike. Okay, I think that's a bullshit reason, but let's go with that, right? What the fuck is the reason this game costs $70? It's the same old hardware, right?
Yeah. And here's the thing: people said they took certain retailers took pre-orders at $60, so they're worried that Nintendo's going to charge them that extra $10. Because they got it in at $59.99, and then people went on the eShop after the direct. It's like, oh, it's $69.99. It's like, why? For what?
That Nintendo tax is getting steeper, But yeah, you already know my thoughts on this. I'm not gonna get fooled again. That Legend of Zelda, I know, everybody loves her, or whatever. To me personally, my opinion, I gotta do all these little, fucking asterisks. Insanely overrated game. I'm not getting fooled again, so I'm not playing this shit. But again, hold on. Okay, we got the PS5, we got badass, PCs with RTX 40 cards, and we're supposed to accept this? Really? Nah, fuck that. Fuck that. You're crazy.
I mean, if only they could get that DLSS shit working on.
Could you imagine? Switch. Could you imagine this game running on an actual real system? It would look great.
Yeah. If they could get if it well, I mean, to be honest, like they've actually gotten
we've seen it actually for the guys who sail the high seas, if you know what I mean.
Oh yeah, they've gotten that game to run, because it's using currently existing technology. They got it to run, and they've run that temporal injection stuff that Nvidia I think has now, where essentially they're able to replace assets, as before it hits your screen, so you could have these high resolution assets in the second half. So they hijack a part of the rendering cycle.
Yeah,
and with ray tracing too.
So on the Switch hardware, they can do this, or is it?
No, this is on PC. When they
okay.
If you look at if you look something like Breath of the Wild RTX, you can literally see the game running with ray tracing on and with assets all replaced because of this thing that I think Nvidia has, where they can essentially hijack a portion of the rendering pipeline and essentially add something to it. Replacing models, doing all kinds of crazy stuff. Pretty much the remastering engine, like what Hip Hop Gamer was talking about.
Yeah, J-Shep, I hear that. Like he says, I feel like at the end of the day, gamers want to play the type of games they want to play, and graphics will take a backseat. Yeah, I understand that's a sentiment among gamers. I'm speaking for me. I can't play a game that looks like this. It's fucking insulting. you know. And just the fact that people are just okay with it is insane to me. But to each their own, you know. But yeah,
I mean, the only place that it'll actually look legitimately good is possibly on a older television and on the
play that shit on a CRT TV, you know.
No, I mean you can play. I mean, to be honest, you can play it on a 1080p, right? Isn't that supposedly what it's running on? Or no?
Yeah, well, it's 720p upscaled to 1080p on the dock.
Oh, so that's already. It's already. Yeah.
But yeah,
we're playing like PlayStation 3 era games on the Switch there.
Yeah, if you're lucky, you know. All right. Anything else you guys want to say about Zelda?
I'm impressed with the work that they did, but unfortunately, I feel like it's looking tough. They're about that at that level where they need to have a technology refresh, a hardware refresh. Seriously.
Oh, they've been past that. Yeah, that was we said that at the beginning of the Switch.
Before the Switch came out, we said that. Yeah.
Now the shit's ancient.
That's why I don't buy the whole argument. Like, oh, the Switch is aging. It's been aged since day one.
I mean, yeah, it was
when we, you know, specifically me and Carlos, we played that first Breath of the Wild. We're like, yo, what the fuck is up?
It is old. It is old.
You know?
It is old tech. It was old tech even when it first came out. But to be honest, like if you think about it, like as far as the investment that Nintendo is making out of these games, they're literally making games from 2 generations ago, right? You know, like PlayStation 3, a little bit over a PlayStation 3 era, not PlayStation 4 yet. So, you know, they don't need to invest that much money into doing those sorts of things. Not to mention the hardware can't really handle anything that crazy. So, you know, you're sort of saving money if you think about it. But then they're also maximizing their profit by charging so much for their games and their console that hasn't gone down in price.
Yeah, but eventually there's diminishing returns because you have it, or whether or not they are buying the Blue Ocean stuff. Kids and parents can only spend so much money. So if a kid looks at Call of Duty on a Series X or PS5, or you show them a Forbidden West, or you show them God of War, or you show them even Halo, you know, whatever, and then you show them Breath of the Wild, and they're like, I want to play this one, right? It's the visual, the attractiveness of the games. Like the Switch doesn't have anything that's visually like, wow, this is stunning. It doesn't have that.
Nothing. Yeah.
Nothing like that. It's just the story and the quality of the game, but you have to experience it. Whereas you look at like somebody could just put on a God of War trailer, like, oh shit, I want to play that. Like, wow, that looks amazing, right? Looks like a movie. So they're gonna gravitate there. Or then you show them while kids shouldn't be playing Modern Warfare 2. That's a bad example. But whatever.
Probably playing it.
What's
God of War either. You know?
Yeah, I gotta set an example. I'm dead now. Yeah, set an example. Well, Brett, what's the one where the kids are shrunk?
Garden.
Yes, they look at that and they're like, "Wow, this looks stunning." Or even like play Sea of Thieves or whatever. They're gonna gravitate towards that. It's just that's the first impression. So that's where Nintendo loses out. And I don't care what they say. They can say, "Oh, we're not competing with it." Yes, you are. Yes, you are. You're in the same space. I don't care if you're out in the blue ocean or what you're smoking to think you're out in the ocean. You're really on land with the rest of them. You know, and Jim Ryan and Phil Spencer are right next to you, and you have to compete with that. And they're, and you don't have the graphical parity to pull in a lot of the guys you're trying to attract to your system. The only guys you're attracting are either already Nintendo fans, already old timers, or people who have had multiple Nintendo systems, or people who are just borderline, I would say almost borderline mobile, like they want a simpler experience, right? And that's who you're going to pull in, or it's like, oh, game on the go, or like Adam said, you buy a Switch Lite for your kid, and there you go, Timmy's first system.
You know what I think is really interesting, Chris, or actually just kind of funny, is Nintendo keeps trying to push themselves to the blue ocean, be like, look, we're doing something different. Then the second they find success, other people do it better than them. Look at your Steam Deck.
Let's keep going with this with the rundown here. But Brett, remember what we talked about before the show? I keep that in the back of your mind because I definitely want to hear your thoughts on that. All right, what else do we have here? Advance Wars 1 and 2 Reboot Camp. The fuck is this?
Advance Wars is it was.
No, I know it's Advance Wars. I'm talking about what is this specifically? It's a remake.
It's just the first two games remade. Yeah. Remade on the Switch.
Remake.
It's the exact same thing.
Okay, so nothing.
If you played the old Advance Wars is basically Fire Emblem but with tanks. And modern guns.
All right. Stupid question asked about Nintendo here. Did they do anything to change the graphics? Did they make them better in any way?
Yeah, it's a remaster because it was a 2D game before.
Yeah.
So now it's 3D.
Okay, because I'm looking at this trailer and it's just a cartoon. Okay, or whatever.
It was just a cutscene, I think, on the show.
Yeah,
it's the style. It's the style of the game. It's meant to, it's sort of, like a stylized looking game. It was a very popular game at the time.
Yeah, no, I know about Advance Wars. Yeah. All right. What do you have? Game Boy and Game Boy Advance.
So they just made like a 3D version of it.
Yeah. All right. Good for them. Game Boy and Game Boy Advance on Nintendo Switch Online. Okay. Okay. Would even Adam be excited about this? I guess nobody.
It's a weird one, especially since they're releasing Metroid. The Game Boy Metroid game, which they did make a remake of that recently.
Yeah, the Samus Returns.
They're
releasing Metroid 2 again, but it's like you already made a superior version of that.
I'll run it real quick. So the titles are Tetris, fucking phenomenal game. That Tetris on Game Boy is the best version of that game. I don't care about all the other versions. That's the one, But you got to play it on the actual real Game Boy, to get the experience. Metroid 2, Return of Samus, Wario Land 3, and more. For Game Boy Advance, you get Mario Kart Super Circuit, The Legend of Zelda Minish Cap, among others. All right, so I guess you have to pay that subscription or whatever to get these games, and it's going to be just metered out, right? It's not going to be like the whole carte blanche. Isn't that how it?
Yeah, it's probably metered out. Yeah, that's how it's been working. Yeah.
Yeah, but again, there are other ways to get these games, if you know what I'm saying. So, little hard to get excited about that.
It's an interesting one, but I mean, to be honest, it's nice to have Minish Cap out there again. I'm sure they're going to throw Spirit Tracks and the other one out there too.
Oh, the Spirit Tracks was a DS game.
Yeah. Oh, hold on real quick. The guys in the chat are saying they missed out on some of the chat. Is the stream all fucked up or something?
Well, you've been clipping around.
I wonder if it's on my end. I don't know. Maybe that's because on my end you guys are getting quiet, or when I say something, yo, say something, motherfuckers.
Oh, that's weird.
I wonder. Hope it's not.
No,
on my end.
you're. Yeah. Every so often you flip out on our end.
And I'm the one streaming this shit. So we'll see. That's gonna affect the back end then. Damn. All right, we'll move on. Maybe I'll just talk slow. Metroid Prime Remake. $60 for this, by the way. Not the full collection, just one game.
I'm annoyed about that because on the Wii, when they remastered the Metroid Prime games to put on the Wii, which wasn't really a remaster, they put all three games together. They made Metroid Prime Trilogy, right? And packaged them all as a single game. So why it looks like a cash grab when you're trying to do this. So are you going to remaster each Metroid Prime and release them as $60 games again?
Yep.
Yeah. Up until whenever 4 comes out.
Yep.
That's the strategy?
I suspect,
which will be $70, right?
I would suspect that that's what they're doing, to essentially give those games more time to simmer, or for them to prepare it. They're going to probably, bolster it by putting out the previous titles in the franchise. So, how much you want to bet next year you're going to see Metroid Prime 2?
Yeah, also for $60.
Also $60, and then they'll do the third one. Yep.
I mean, Nintendo's done shit like this before, so no surprise there.
The remaster isn't bad looking though. There's we see, thanks to the guys in the chat where they literally posted the sort of comparison between all three versions.
But if you're new coming in, you realize, and then you buy that fourth game, you would have spent $250 on all of these. They're gonna make you spend $180 to replay a GameCube game.
People are saying $40.
Games.
$40 for Metroid Prime.
Is it 40?
Is it 40? Okay, that's good. But can't you get the Master Chief Collection that has 6 Halo games for about $40 as well? You know what I'm saying? Like, this is still a rip-off. Doesn't matter.
It's still a rip-off, yeah.
Yeah, it's still ripping people off, but, these dudes are going to buy it,
Well, I mean, to be honest, that's no different than what Sony has been doing, too. And essentially bolstering their line with with their titles with a bunch of old games by remastering them.
Oh no, they're saying remaking apparently.
Yeah, they called that one a remake. That was not a remake.
Like, okay, bro.
Yeah.
By the way, real quick. Go ahead, Carlos. Go ahead.
Just real quick. I mean, it looks good. It looks like something. And I asked Chris this question because I was actually interested in what he thought. But yeah, like it's $40 is a steep price for a remake or a remaster of a GameCube game, man.
Oh, listen, I'd love to play it, but yeah, it's a steep asking price. And then when you think about, like, they're going to do this to all three of them.
Yeah,
right?
Of course.
So even if it's $40, it's $120 to get in on the ground floor before you play 4. Oh, I want to experience all of them. Okay, so you paid $120 before you have to drop $70, to play Metroid Prime 4.
And not to mention they'll make you play for all the titles, and what they'll do is they'll also what is it? I'll tell you, I lost my thought.
Okay, can one of you guys here keep an eye on the stream because it seems like it's fucked up again.
Okay. Oh.
It looks good to me. I've been monitoring it for the last 5-10 minutes.
Okay. By the way, real quick, because to make it ask us a question, it's not the question show, but it's pertinent regardless. My question for the show is why talk about Nintendo topics just a dunk because clearly there's no interest. I'm gonna try not to be condescending, but if it comes out that way, whatever. We are a video game podcast that covers gaming news. This was big gaming news of the week, so we got to cover it regardless of how we feel about it. But we also have a duty to be honest with you guys and not put on a show. Like, oh my God, this was the greatest thing ever. You know what I'm saying? Like, we got to be real here. It's just what you get. I mean, it was the same way whenever Call of Duty happened before Adam was on the show. None of us give a fuck about Call of Duty, but it's gaming news, so we had to talk about it. But yeah, listen, man, we got to keep it real around here,
Well, I do want to mention, and Tony doesn't really like his view stance is different from me, Chris, and Brett, for example.
Oh yeah, but here's the thing: since I'm I guess most vocally against Nintendo, it gets thrown on the entire panel, even though that's not the case. I mean, if you've been listening for a good amount of time, Chris, Brett has been loving the fucking Switch. It got him back into gaming, so, it's my opinion. It's not the same as everybody else's, but at the same time, some of us, even fans of the Switch, are getting frustrated with that system, I
mean, even Adam was playing the shit out of the fucking Switch until the Steam Deck came out.
Yeah,
exactly. So my opinion is not everybody else's. As a matter of fact, we have very different opinions on Nintendo as far as I'm concerned. It's just we don't have that one guy who's like Triforce Johnson, like, oh my God, fainting and shit, pissing on themselves going to Nintendo events. We don't have anybody like that.
Yeah, we don't have the reactors meme face on thumbnail type of energy. That exactly that type of energy that they provide, because they every time something Nintendo throws the freaking I saw this. I saw some of the reactions. They announced Mario Kart 8, the Yoshi's thing, and they were going crazy, and I'm like, are you being for real right now? Accept this shit.
So, but yeah, hey, the thing about it, like, yeah, it's interesting about this whole Switch thing. I mean, I wish they would put out a nice new fancy console to sort of just
But we all know whatever their new console is going to be, it's going to be like
it's going to be a
PS4.
generation behind.
Yeah, it's going to be a generation behind. This is what Nintendo does now.
I'm gonna predict this one. The next Nintendo device will be as strong as an Xbox. An Xbox One or a PlayStation 4.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But at least that's bearable. But then again, we're
going to have better machines that are going to make it look even crappier.
It'll only be right, but at least it'll be running 1080p.
All right, let's move on. Let's keep going with what else do we have here? Pikmin 4.
Okay.
All right.
Pikmin 4.
By the way, I love what fucking Polygon wrote here. Really, like you could tell they just wrote this shit fast. Pikmin 4 is the fourth Pikmin game. Yeah, no shit, dude.
Yeah, Pikmin 4 is the fourth Pikmin game. Yeah. I mean, again, you're talking about like they Nintendo relying on their legacy, which I don't. I mean, forgive me if I'm wrong. I don't think Pikmin has Pikmin ever had that much of a fanfare to it. I feel like it was their lowest selling of their franchises.
I remember for a long time people were asking for the second Pikmin game, and then it finally came after a while.
Was the third?
Or was it the third? One of them.
Yeah.
But I know people were hungry for that shit, so I'm kind of surprised this one came so fast.
Yeah, because
it was a slow burn.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, it was definitely a slow burn, and yeah, Pikmin is definitely one of the lowest selling of like their main first party franchises. And like you mentioned, there was a long gap between releases of Pikmin 2 and 3, but the fans, kind of got nostalgic like they usually do, and were clamoring for Pikmin 3.
All right.
And now we're getting into 4.
I didn't find it offensive. I was just like, all right, Pikmin. There you go.
Yeah, another Pikmin. There you go. Next up, we got Samba de Amigo Party Central. Wasn't this a Dreamcast game?
Yes, it was.
Yeah. It's interesting.
It was the Maraca game, right?
I remember that. Yeah.
Now you play with the Wiimotes, right?
The Joy-Con.
The
Joy-Con.
Sorry.
It's just it's the same basic thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So we got a Samba de Amigo. Cool. Baten Kaitos remaster. I've never even heard of this shit.
Was that a Konami game?
Yes, that's the guy with the red suit, right?
I think so.
Yeah, he's like dead. It's like a 2D side scroller. It's either Capcom or it's Konami. Does it have a picture?
Kaitos 1 and 2 HD. Let me look at this.
Maybe I'm wrong.
You might be wrong because I'm like, this looks like an
I know
RPG.
It's the guy. There's that one game with the guy in the red suit that got remastered. Death something or other. So let's see.
This game is definitely not a side scroller.
Okay, so
just from the
it's an RPG.
Art, yeah, you could tell it's an RPG. Okay, I'm looking at the trailer right now. See some. I'm not gonna say it. I'm gonna get in trouble.
Batsen Kaizo.
Chris, all I'm gonna say is it looks like I saw a bunch of sweetbreads here.
Oh.
Yeah, it looks like a turn-based RPG. Cool.
Let's see.
Is it?
We're on Kotaku, right? I should look at these things too.
But it's interesting. It says it's a remaster, but I've never heard of these. I don't know. I don't really have anything to add to that. If anybody's in the chat, like, anybody in the chat play the originals?
Okay, Pikmin.
Yeah.
Legend of Zelda.
Yeah.
Nah,
C2 Maker, there you go. There's some positivity for you. That looked good. There you go.
No, we balance things equally. If it looks good or interesting, we'll say so.
Yeah. We also gotta keep it real.
Yeah.
We'll praise the Mario games, and we'll shit on the Dinosaur High games, no matter what console they show up in.
Yeah, Mario Odyssey was good. There you go. Still my favorite Switch game. I mean, that's not saying much, but it is. All right, let's move on here. Fashion Dreamer. What the fuck is this?
Fashion Dreamer.
Yeah, Fashion Dreamer is basically a fashion influencer simulator. Okay, where you.
All right, let's skip that one.
Yeah, let's skip that. Fuck that. Dead Cells Return to Castlevania. We talked about this before. Kind of interesting.
That one's cool. I'm excited for that one.
Yeah, it's pretty much Castlevania with the Dead Cells guy.
Oh
Does
yeah,
that
the
mean
Game Awards they talked about that. Yeah.
does it?
Yeah, they
Does this?
showed it.
So Dead Cells, as I remember, wasn't that a
The roguelike.
Yeah, it was like the dungeon keeps re-evolving itself.
Yeah, it's a roguelike.
It's just a roguelike, so it changes every time you die.
So, but now it has a Castlevania skin. Okay.
Yeah. Right. Nobody in the chat played that RPG. They never played the original. Yeah, Castlevania skin. That's cool. Ghost Trick Phantom Detective.
Yeah, that's the one.
It sounds like a DS game.
It says it's a
That
re-release
one-
of 2010.
That one.
Yeah.
That one was one. As I remember, I think it was a Konami, a Capcom game.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
2010 adventure game.
It's funny because it got remastered before, so it got remastered again.
Yeah. Again.
Against.
Yeah. All right. Next, we love Katamari reroll. So is this a remaster of Katamari Damacy?
I mean, to be honest, I think it's just a re-release of Katamari
Yeah,
Damacy.
wasn't that on PSP?
Yeah, I
Katamari?
think so.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Splatoon 3. I guess this is an expansion, right?
Yeah, and they have. Looks
Yeah,
like
it's more
it has-
DLC.
There's more DLC. It looks like it has some story stuff too, which is interesting.
Yeah. All right. So if you like, Splatoon, there you go. Disney Illusion Island.
It's
Let me see.
it's a Mickey Mouse game.
It's
Is it like
was it
like Illusion or Master of Illusion or whatever?
Yeah, it's like
Castle of Illusion?
It's sort of like that idea of Castle of Illusion, but it has all Mickey and his crew, so it's got Mickey, Minnie, Donald, and Goofy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that looks good. Looks like a cartoon. That's cool.
it's fun.
Yeah,
It looks like the current show, which is kind of like 1920s Mickey Mouse without any eyeballs. He just has those black dots.
Yeah.
Those beady eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looked pretty good.
Yeah,
That's one of the standouts from the show.
It looks like the current show, Mickey Mouse. What is that show called? Chris, you know which one it is, right? The one that's on
Yeah, it's
TV?
just Mickey Mouse Adventure or something.
Yeah.
It has that style,
Mhm.
It's hard. It's like a retro style.
Yeah,
He's got
that's
black eyes like a doll's eyes.
Yeah.
He's got those eyes. He doesn't have the Pac-Man eyes.
Yeah. All right, that's cool. Harmony: The Fall of Reverie. What is
That sounds like a JRPG.
Yeah.
Let me look at the game.
Where's Riku?
Yeah, I know that game. I've been waiting for that for 10 years.
Rico always. Oh, it's a don't nod game. It might be a point and click adventure game, maybe.
Yeah, because I don't think I remember seeing gameplay from that.
No,
They just. Yeah, I don't see it.
the animation looks good.
Let's see.
It looks like one of those like straight to DVD like DC movies.
Oh yeah, this thing. It's interesting. It looks
But
interesting.
where's the gameplay though?
Yeah, it just looks like we're watching cinematics.
Yeah, I don't see any gameplay here. All right, so nothing to say there. No gameplay. Professor Layton and the New World of Steam. Okay.
That one's a big surprise for Professor Layton fans because they haven't had a Professor Layton game since the DS.
Years.
Yeah, for
Oh,
years.
really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he had a 3DS game in the very beginning of the 3DS, and that's it. That was the last game.
Shows how much I know. I figured I thought they kept pumping these games out. all
10
the
years
time.
or 11 years ago.
Well, yeah, they stopped them.
All right, so there you go, Professor Layton fans.
Yep.
Yeah,
No
go ahead.
video of that one though.
No. Fantasy Life 1, The Girl Who Steals Time.
Never heard of it, but it's new, I guess.
An Animal Crossing like where you rebuild an island by collecting resources to bring everything back to life.
Oh,
looks
so
like Animal Crossing. All right.
It does look like Animal Crossing.
All right, whatever.
All right.
And of course, Mario Kart 8, another one.
And
Man,
Wave
keeps on
4
going, man.
Yeah.
keeps on going.
They added the pink dinosaur thing. Oh, the one that.
Oh, they added Birdo.
Yeah, they added Birdo and
This game got more
Yoshi.
content after the game actually came out than it did on the first system it came out on. It's insane to me.
It keeps printing. It literally is the money printer. That's right.
Yeah.
Isn't it literally the best selling game for the Switch?
On the Switch.
It is,
It is
yeah.
the best selling game on the Switch. Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes no
Yeah, I
sense
know
to
it.
me.
I was surprised they're still milking the shit out of it. Yeah, it seems like a lot of it. Maybe it's just me, but it seems like a lot of the stuff that was announced were like remakes or reboots or like Game Boy Advance things.
Yeah, it's a lot of remakes, remasters, and stuff. Like, again, if you're a Nintendo fan, sure, but I'm like, there's nothing to get excited about here.
Well, no, there's Zelda.
Is that really some? I mean, yeah, whatever. Go ahead.
Zelda's gonna get people excited. Pikmin, kind of, but I think a lot of it is faux hype because people just like to every time something, especially Nintendo. Everyone does this, but especially Nintendo fans. If there's anything remotely nostalgic about something new releasing, like a new Excite bike, oh my god! Insert thumbnail face.
Yeah.
They'll go crazy.
Yeah, where's RGT 85, man? He'll probably go next.
And I mean, Pikmin is a better example of that, but it's I feel like it's a game that gets overhyped because people just like the nostalgic touch to it. But yeah, I mean, Splatoon DLC, Mario Kart 8 DLC doesn't really get me excited. Zelda, for as much as I criticize how it looks, it's still something that I'm considering getting. Because I don't think I've not bought a mainline Zelda game since Nintendo.
Plus, you got to justify buying the Switch, right?
Yeah,
played that shit in a while. I imagine.
Yeah, it's been a while.
I've always said the reason my Switch doesn't get dusty is because it's in a case. Otherwise, it'd be just covered in dust. I don't remember. Yeah, Metroid Dread, which is fantastic.
That's the last one I played too.
Yeah. See, there you go, Blitz. I said something nice about Nintendo.
I mean, I'll definitely play Zelda, but a price tag though, I don't agree with that.
Zelda.
Yeah, for me, it's not even a price. I'm like, I didn't like the first game. I'm not gonna like this one.
I'm gonna have to buy that attachment that Tony got.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I'll send you that link.
The booster.
Give me the booster.
The booster right now. Was that everything they showed? Polygon didn't fuck up and miss something.
No, they missed. You missed.
I didn't miss nothing.
They missed Deca Police, which is a level 5 game.
Yeah.
That's actually coming out for PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. So it's a very nice looking, sort of stylized looking title.
Was that with like the psychic detectives?
Yeah, that's
like
with the
superpowers.
Yeah, that's the one with the psychic detectives. It's very sort of turn-based RPG. It looks cool. They also missed Tron Identity. Which is sort of like I don't know, like one of those interactive novels. It's weird. It's mostly just like artwork and stuff like that with like simple 3D stuff on top of it. Xenoblade 3 expansion, which is not on there. You said Pikmin. You see this Rain. Did you say the Master Detective Archives Raincoat?
No.
Yeah, that's another one that they did. It's another very sort of stylized like JRPG type of game. Is you like solve mysteries inside of it. Let me also find out if this Raincoat is also for anything else.
Just to be sure we got everything.
Well, because it also, because obviously in a Nintendo Direct, they're not going to tell you if it's only for one if it's for more than one console.
Yeah.
No, that one is actually a Nintendo exclusive.
Okay.
Which is fine.
Brett, I want to hear your theory about Nintendo.
Okay. Now I'm pretty sure it's gonna fly like a lead balloon at this point, but sure. Okay, so I was watching the coverage on IGN, and I was, they had a whole panel on there, and a lot of them, were getting pretty excited about it. A lot of people you could tell like played Nintendo when they were younger, but a thought kind of hit me as I was watching their lineup kind of roll out, and that was that. And I'm painting with broad strokes here, but I kind of feel like Nintendo's lineup has skewed more towards the female audience and the female demographic. Not saying that we can't all play a lot of their games. Like, Animal Crossing to me feels like something that's generally skewed a little bit more towards the female demographic. Don't get me wrong, I played it. I enjoyed it, not as long as a lot of people did, but it was nice during the lockdown to have something kind of feel and mind numbing to relax to while you got Netflix on in the background. So I'm not saying this out of a place of like derision. I'm just saying like, if you look at the content, a lot of the games are like cooking simulators and fashion simulators and social simulators and a lot of things that just kind of tend to skew a little bit more towards the female demographic.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. Like, that's actually a pretty interesting observation. Because always, my natural tendency is to be like Nintendo kitty, I never thought about, the whole like kind of, I guess more, for lack of a better term, more female-centric nature. But yeah, you're right. Farming simulators, fashion simulators. Maybe that's a reason why the game system's so successful, as we're going to get to in a bit. It's like, when you make games for literally 100% of the people, not just 50% of people, you're probably going to get more sales.
Maybe Nintendo was right, and they aren't in competition with Sony and Microsoft.
That's right. Yeah, because let's be honest, who is Sony and Microsoft's main audience? It's dudes.
It's dudes, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and this is allegory, but I'm curious whether or not you guys have come across this too. When I think back on it, I'm like, most of the female gamers I have known have owned a Game Boy or a Switch or a Nintendo product.
Yeah. No, you're right. Again, I didn't really think about this until you brought this up, but yeah, you're right. Very interesting. That's got, and again, like Brett said, we're not saying this as a point of derision. We're just saying this as like an interesting observation, and it would kind of explain why Nintendo's so goddamn popular. Is again, if you're serving more than just guys, that's a whole big market right there.
Yeah, because there's more women on the planet, so I mean,
it's about half and half, But
no, I remember them saying. I remember a study saying there's more female on the planet.
Maybe by like 1%, but the point is, if you are serving everybody instead of just one sect, you're gonna make money. That would explain things,
Well, here's the thing: Nintendo's got two demographics. Maybe that's why they think they're blue ocean, because they have two demographics that are not fully being served.
Children and women.
Children and women.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. That's a very good observation.
Yeah, Nintendo definitely tries to catch the broadest people on the net kind of thing. Nintendo, Xbox and PlayStation, it's very targeted sometimes. It feels like, like this type of game is targeted to these type of audiences. And Nintendo, it's like, hopefully everyone loves this. At the expense of, making the games look good.
Yeah. Yeah, that excludes guys like us, but there's more people that don't care, obviously, as we're going to talk about later on, Switch sales have been very, very good indeed. So, even though I me, I don't rock with Nintendo like that. Got to give them props for doing something right,
I will say, I don't know if they're explicitly targeting a female audience on the Nintendo Switch, but I will say this game, those types of alternative games, as opposed to the manly, like the dude bro gamer stuff, do much better on Nintendo consoles than they do on others. I mean, Wii Fit is not necessarily gender specific targeted type game, but it's sort of like an alternative game as opposed to like the traditional Xbox and PlayStation one that did extremely well. That men and women and kids all enjoyed.
That's true. How well did Connect Sports do?
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody's like, what? Who?
Connect Sports. Bullshit. All right. Let's get into some fun stuff here. Nintendo financials, man.
Chris's first regular Throwdown episode back, and he's talking about Nintendo financials. What?
Dude's landed a Namek and fighting Frieza right away.
I know, right? I just landed in front of him like, oh shit.
Yeah, so Chris, take it away, man. What can you infer from these financials?
Okay, so I'm actually, I didn't get to break these down like I usually do, and I have my
Yeah, it's all
sheet.
good.
I didn't do it yet. So I'm using like Tony sent me the Go Nintendo link, and they cut up the stuff. I love it how they said we did a breakdown. It's like you didn't. You just took Nintendo's breakdown and you chopped it up and put it on the page. But that's all right.
You know?
That's fine. Anyway, so if you compare because it's not just Q3, it's like Q1 to 3, so it's combined. So and then they compare it to last fiscal year versus this one. And overall their sales are down. So their net sales was down 2% roughly, operating profit down 13%, net profit down 6%. The the overall takeaway I have of this is you're starting to see the decline of the Switch and the interest in it, because all these losses seem to be coming pretty much from the hardware not selling well. And I mean, it has sold spectacularly well. Let me rephrase that. The Switch, it's outsold the Wii, right? So it sold very well. The sales are slowing down. It's slowing down to a point where they have crested and now it's coming back down. And usually when when you're starting to go into the valley, when it's taking a dip, it's hard to come back out. And I think a couple of things are happening. So we're seeing the trend line go down, which means interest in the Switch is falling, and I don't think they'll be able to pull it out, and I'll probably be able to demonstrate this better when the full fiscal year report comes out. So that usually is in April. I'll do the breakdown then because it looks at the whole year. But when you have losses like this, especially, I don't have this visual, but their hardware sales from the first 3 quarters in fiscal year 2022 versus 3 quarters, it's down 21.3%. So it was like 18.95 million units total hardware sold in those first 3 quarters versus 14.91 million. So it's a huge gap. And it's like, so what can you attribute that to? So Nintendo's still saying, hey, we still have a shortage of semiconductors, so there's not supply in the market. I don't buy that too much. I think there's other things happening. And it's easy for them to say that because that's still true. There's still a shortage of semiconductors. Is that related to your hardware sales shortfall? Not so much. I think that we're seeing the downturn. We're seeing generally a lack of interest in sales. And here's the thing. Nintendo wants to re-engage people. They want the Switch to pan out for the next year or so and pad their time until they launch whatever it is they're going to probably launch next year. Probably by the end of the year, they'll announce whatever is going to replace the Switch. And typically in the end of life for a Nintendo console, with the exception of the Wii U, which they drop like hot garbage.
Okay.
As soon as the Switch came out, before the Switch came out, they literally pulled the Wii U from market. You couldn't buy a Wii U the last 6 months before the Switch came out. They literally pulled it from point of sales places. They pulled it out of stores and whatever. They didn't even want that system out anymore. They wanted to build hype for the Switch. That is unheard of for them. The Wii U was such an embarrassment. But with the Wii, what did we see at the end of the system's life? They released one Zelda and then relied on third party to carry it through. And the Wii up to that point was their best-selling console. And at the end, they just didn't care anymore. They focus all their resources, and they always do this, they focus their resources at the next system. So then what happens? You get one big title, and it just happens again, the pattern plays out. So this year we'll get a Zelda, right? And then eventually, so at some point you get Metroid Prime 4, but like, where's everything else? I think this year is going to be sparse. And they say it themselves. There was a quote in here talking about a million sellers. Hold on. They said Nintendo looks to maintain Switch momentum by continuing to convey the appeal of the Switch family of systems. That's just word salad. That doesn't mean anything. You're going to convey the appeal of the Switch family of systems. It's like, okay, you're gonna keep advertising that it's portable and you can take it to rooftop parties. Like what? That appeal, you've already conveyed that. People already know what the Switch is. You can't market against that. It's like, hey, you get to carry it on the go and do what with it? Like people want to know. Like you need to gauge for software sales. That's really what's going to hold you up, and those are even down. So your hardware sales are really down, and then your software sales are starting to lag with it, like 2.4% down from the 3 quarters last year. So if your software sales are falling, that's a total decline. It's not like, hey, software sales are still high, but our hardware sales are falling, but we still have momentum because people are still engaging with the software. No, they're both falling, right? So that pattern shows that there's a severe lack of interest in both, right? You're not engaging people who own the system already. They're obviously falling off, and you don't want the Wii doorstop syndrome to happen. You don't want people to you don't want to have the situation they had with the Wii where people bought Wii Sports or Wii Play or Wii Fit, and then the Wii's a doorstop after that. You don't want people, and like Tony puts it in a case and it's locked up and that's it. He's done. He's not engaged anymore. And a lot of people are going to end up like that. Zelda will probably sell well, but it will sell a lot to Zelda fans and current owners of the system. But will that it spark hardware sales a bit? But I don't think too much. And so what else will Metroid Prime 4 won't do that, and I don't think they're going to have a Pokemon this holiday. They've bled Pokemon for the last 4 years. Every holiday is a Pokemon game. And Scarlet and Violet proved that Game Freaks cannot keep up with that pace and keep a level of consistency and quality. Like they obviously fell off. And then people say they loved Arceus Legends and Scarlet and Violet. They were kind of pissed off with the results of that one and the game system and just the bugs and the issues it had. And then when I read all these bullet points for how they're going to spur sales, there's nothing in there about our titles, the strength of our titles, right? That usually they'd say something like that, something hint like, "Oh, well, look forward to what we're going to have coming in, the next fiscal year, the next calendar year, whatever." No, they say, a rich variety of appealing titles are also planned for the Switch, released by other software publishers. So you always pay attention to what they say. Other software publishers, that's third party. That's not them. They're not interested anymore. When they say stuff like that, then there's not much to look forward to in terms of like, oh, there's going to be a new Mario game. You can burn your candles and make your summoning circles. I don't think that's going to happen. Yeah. I think what they're going to do is push that off because Mario's a heavy title, and if they were, if they were smarter, they would have had something to go along with this movie. That Illumination's going to launch in March, but they're not going to do that. And I don't think they're going to have another Mario title on this system. I think they're going to wait till whatever the next thing is.
Yeah.
The Switch 2 or whatever it is. And that's where you're going to get a Mario game to launch with it. But this one, the Switch, no, they're not going to do that. Like when they say things like this, it's like, then only thing you have to look forward to is whatever third parties are going to decide to still release on the system, which is not really that much appealing. Also, when a lot of that stuff is going to be multi-platform, Nintendo will work to energize the Switch by continuously adding new titles to those already available. But that's saying the same thing as what you said before. So you have titles coming from other publishers, and you're going to add new titles. It's the same thing. Nintendo plans to encourage even more people to continue enjoying playing Switch. That basically means you are going to try to re-engage people, but if you re-engage lapsed players, you need to re-engage them on the level where they left. It's like, why did they leave? If you don't understand why they dropped off, then you can't encourage them to keep playing the system.
Yeah.
Right? So that to me, that all was just like, these are just like nice words for the investors, but I'm like, this is meaningless. You didn't say anything about the strength of our library or none of that. You went immediately to other software publishers will continue to add to our library. It's It's not that appealing.
Yeah, no, it
I know
really
some
isn't.
people would disagree with me, but I mean, would you buy a Switch if you're like, we got other guys making stuff for it? Don't worry about it.
Yeah, like I like if some of these games are on other systems, I'd rather just get on the other system where it's going to look better, you know,
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
run better.
and run better. Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, that the one of the things I think they showed at the Direct was that the Etrian Odyssey Origins are going to launch the first 2 or 3 games in a bundle, but that's going to be on Steam. So
Yeah.
I'd rather get it there if I wanted to re-experience those games.
yeah. Same thing with like the new Octopath. It's like just get it on Steam or something else or PlayStation, literally anywhere else besides the Switch. You know, where it's
Right,
going to run the
exactly,
worst.
yeah. So you're going to have with third-party titles that are available elsewhere. And if you lost engagement from people and they switched to another system, if they're playing on Xbox, they're playing the Steam Deck, they're playing on a PS5, they're going to just stay there. They're going to be like, is that coming out for that? Let me look. Okay, boom, that's it. I'll play it on there. So
Yeah.
that's not a winning strategy. The winning strategy is like you have to engage people with the main reason most of them bought the system was for the first party titles, was for the exclusives, for what you offered. If you're saying we're not offering anything, and they're gonna leave, then they're just gonna like on the system and people who you might want to engage new sales. Well, guess what? If you don't have anything new exclusive coming out, maybe a few people buy stuff because they missed out on something, but that's not a big number, right? And then they could just go to the used market. Like disengaged people will probably sell their Switches, so I'd rather go there and buy a Switch for cheap from someone and play, Luigi's Mansion 3 or something because I missed out on it. But other than that's residual income you lost.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I got out of this. I don't have a good feeling. I think they are already kind of checked out on the Switch, and that's signaling to me that they're getting ready to move on.
Yeah, that's what the chat is pretty much saying as well. And yeah, you're right, because look at this Direct, for example. It's like most of it was a bunch of remakes and remasters. They don't have anything
Yes.
new, like besides Zelda, you know?
Yeah.
So,
I
yeah.
mean, the level 5 stuff and the intelligence system makes what is it, Advanced Wars and
Yeah.
Fire Emblem and all that stuff. I consider that second party. It's not coming from an Nintendo internal, although they pay level 5, well, for the Professor Layton and that stuff, and the intelligence system does Advanced Wars, but that's not Donkey Kong, that's not Mario, that's not Metroid. You're doing that, right? That's what people really look forward to, and then they will engage the other stuff, but you have to carry it, right? And it's like at the end, when they're at the end, that finish line of the system, they're just like, you guys carry it,
Yeah,
and they're
right.
done. And they always do that. You just look at the GameCube, look at the Wii, N64. It's the same thing. They just that last year, they just lose interest, and you'll get some third-party games. And if you own the system and you're like, oh, maybe I'll play this, maybe I'll play it. Well, you have to justify why you bought it, right? But now for us, we're older. When we're younger, and it's like I'm taking that shit to Funko Land and getting a Dreamcast or something, but now you just put it in the drawer. It's done. It's like, I got Steam Deck now. All right, I'll just get that on Steam. Peace.
Yeah, Blitz says, don't all console makers do this? Basically check out during the last year, let the third parties handle everything. He's not 100% wrong about that.
No, he's not. You're not wrong, but with Nintendo, it's worse because they really check out. Like stuff starts shutting down. They kind of telegraph it worse than everyone else. Like Sony or Xbox won't tell you like, "Hey, we're checked out," right? They'll never say that, and they'll probably release a couple of titles in the end of life of the system, and but everybody has to have runway into the next system, right? You have to have a reason for people to spend more money and get the next thing. But Nintendo just drops it, right? And then there's a gap before the next thing. Everyone else tries to slow roll it. Like they try to ease everyone into the next thing. Sony does it. I mean, they screwed up with PS3 saying like, hey, get 2 jobs, but here it comes. You better have that $700 ready. Don't screw up. Don't do a 360 like what was it, Harrison? Don't tell people like
Yeah, oh
you have
boy.
internet, right?
Yeah.
Don't as long as you don't screw up there at that at that threshold, you're fine. Microsoft and Sony always slow rolled it. They always had something big near the end and a couple little things, and they ease you into it. Nintendo just drops it. They're just like, we're out, and you don't hear anything, and it's just like, but they'll promote the third parties, and then they go into the next thing. The same thing happened. If you look at the Game Boy Advance, at the end of Game Boy Advance, there was nothing first party for the last like couple of years. It was all third party games, and there was a ton of them because there was a ton of Game Boy Advance systems in the market. So you had movie adaptations, all this stuff coming out, like shovelware, tons of titles, right? But they moved on to the DS, right? Nintendo was done with the Game Boy Advance. They just let the third parties there. You guys carry it, you know?
Yeah, pretty much. All right. There's a bunch of sales here, but we're not going to worry about that. We'll outline a couple of things though. So the Nintendo Switch has actually outsold the PS4, which is very interesting. You know, this is Benji Sales, I believe, posted this. Yeah, the Nintendo Switch has officially outsold the PS4 lifetime. The Switch has sold 122.55 million, and PS4 is 117.2 million. So, yeah, it actually beat out the PS4. But we kind of saw that coming. I believe we even said that because obviously when the Switch came out, like the PS4 was like it was doing well, obviously, but it was like you have a system that's like just hitting its stride, and then you have one that's already kind of going down. So yeah, no surprise there, to be honest. You know, what else here? It is also the most successful Nintendo console of all time.
Yes.
Yeah. So it outsold the Wii. We were wondering if that was going to happen. Pretty interesting stuff. Any thoughts on that?
I don't know. I'm wondering if, as it fizzles out, if it will get to PS2 or close. I don't know, but it might.
Yeah, it's doing extremely well. I think wasn't it like the fastest to 100 million or something? I don't remember.
Something like that. Yeah, was it PS2? It's like 154 million. The thing is, like, I don't know about that because, like you said, Chris, rightly, you're looking at the numbers. You're not just making shit up. Sales are diminishing. Yes, it has sold a lot, but the sales are still going down. So, PS2 might still be undefeated.
All right, 155. No, it won't make it. It won't make it there. But it'll be interesting to see if they get to like the high 130s. That'll be something because then it'll be like a close. It would be like second, right?
Yeah,
at that point.
Yeah, I think it'll definitely be the second highest console. Because like 130s will be 6 million more. Yeah, it'll probably do that for sure.
And wait for them to announce a new Switch with Wi-Fi 6 and Bluetooth 4.0, and people eat that shit up.
No, but you're right about that though, Chris. Like the sales will stop the instant the new consoles, and that's because, like you said, Nintendo drops their shit like a rock. Think about it. Yeah. We're still getting PS4 games. We're still getting Xbox One games. These systems last a while. Nintendo's just like, nope, we're done now. Screw the last system. And then of course, what's going to happen? They're going to make you buy all those fucking games again. Like they always do.
Absolutely.
Like they always do. All right,
man.
Go ahead.
I've never been more right in my life about one thing, and that's the whole remaster bullshit. I remember when joining this show, that was my first agenda that I pushed throughout when I first joined the show. I was like, "What's up? It's all fucking remasters." It was the PS4 days, and man, now it's been going on for goddamn too long, man.
You had two agendas: that and getting Brian to see Moonlight or whatever the fuck the name of that movie was.
And he did.
Yeah, yo, man. Go.
And it's crazy, man. It's crazy how, and now they're calling remasters remakes, which is the crazier thing.
Yeah, because they know people are wise. They're like, okay, hold on, let's call it a remake now. Even though it's like, no, that's a remaster. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
But yeah, all right. Blitz, don't worry, we're not going to talk about Nintendo anymore from this point on, so you're good. Let's talk about Microsoft Activision for the rest of the show because some interesting stuff has been going on, man. All right, so the UK government says that the Activision deal could harm gamers.
Oh my god.
And obviously Sony and Microsoft, they responded to that. But basically they're trying to say, let me read this. It is from IGN. The CMA, that's virtually their version of the FTC, released the provisional findings of its investigation today, February 8th, which raised concerns over several different issues that could arise if the deal went through, including higher prices, fewer choices, less innovation for UK gamers. So that's what they fear. Cloud gaming was one significant reason for concern, as the CMA noted that Microsoft already accounts for 60 to 70% of this market. Adding the likes of Call of Duty to their current cloud offerings in an exclusive manner could, quote, alter the future of gaming, end quote, and potentially harm UK gamers, the CMA said, adding that those who cannot afford or don't want to buy expensive hardware could be the most affected. What do you guys think of that?
To be honest, like they obviously didn't do their research on there because, again, if you don't really need an Xbox in order to play Game Pass.
Yeah, no, that's what they're trying to say. Since Xbox, is like dominating in that clouds field, and if they have Call of Duty, it'll be even more dominant in the cloud space. Understand? That's what they're trying to say.
I mean, yes, that is true, but the thing about it is that they're talking about expensive equipment. Officially, you won't need any expensive equipment.
Yeah, no, that is true. Yeah, get a phone. You're good. Yeah.
Well, it's weird. The CMA is just repeating Sony's talking points from the brief they issued to them saying this exact same thing. They're just repeating it. So it's like, did you look into this at all? Did you do any research, or did you just take Sony's notes and cross off Sony and write your name and went, yes, it'll harm gamers? It's like, but that's exactly what they said. Where's the evidence of that?
No, there is no real evidence. To be honest, I'm going to say this. This is conspiracy theory, but I do think that Jim Ryan's got some folks, lobbyists out in the UK, because they were the first ones to jump onto this shit. Right?
Yeah. They were,
it was essentially them and the EU, like just.
Yeah, I think I think he's got some folks out there. He's got. No, I'm not saying maybe again conspiracy theories, but it seems like he's got some pocketed people there, or some people that own some favors, and they said, hey, listen, if I throw this out there, you throw a monkey wrench in Microsoft's shit. I don't know, just seems that way. I could be totally wrong, but yeah, whatever. They're gonna yes, it definitely would shift the balance, but at the same time, it's like the argument that Microsoft is, and a lot of the others is like, yeah, but Sony at the same time has these supposed first party titles that they're supposedly known for. Are we to think that their first party titles are not as strong as they want you to believe they are in the public, and really the power is in Call of Duty, and the narrative of having Call of Duty on your console could actually trounce any sort of first party titles? That's pretty crazy if you think about it.
Yeah.
I mean, the argumentation doesn't make sense here. You're kind of saying like Microsoft is too successful with their cloud system, therefore they shouldn't own Call of Duty because their cloud system is too good, and they could compete on multiple planes, whereas Sony has to compete just on the console field. Therefore, it's not fair. It's like that doesn't make sense. That's not how capitalism works. And
the problem is, and the problem we keep saying is, and we all keep saying is, it's not the fact that that it's that. It's the fact that even having the public narrative of having Call of Duty on your system. If you switched out Microsoft for Google, this would be the same sort of thing, because Sony does not have the upper hand as far as public perception as to what Call of Duty is on.
Yeah.
And that's the big thing, because one of the things about Call of Duty is, obviously with all, Sony's expenses that they spend on these first party titles. In this situation, they make a lot of money with a very little investment. Right? And that's what they're doing. That's what it is. It's really that they're like, then it's almost like a lazy person going, oh, fuck, now I have to work. That's pretty much what this situation is.
Yeah, I'm
Because
not sure where the harm argument comes in because it's the same thing where I was complaining Sony's using gamers as a shield in this argument. Like, oh, it'll hurt our customers. It'll hurt
no,
gamers.
it,
How? They were
it'll
offering you
hurt.
the same
It'll
deal. They were offering
it'll
you
it'll
parity.
it'll mean that your investors are not going to be making nearly as much money because it'll mean that you need to spend more. You have to invest more money on your first party titles like you did on the PlayStation 3 era. But now the cost of games, making these type of games, is more expensive than they were. So you have your Call of Duty there that has the zeitgeist. It catches every single, pretty much all types of, the general audience, those hardcore crazy gamers. It gets it hits a lot of bases. So that's why, again, Avian said this in the chat. Shout out to you guys in the Discord chat. I even said this in the chat. It's like they because they have the narrative. It's all going toward them. Again, like as soon as this acquisition happened, and as soon as the zeitgeist gets essentially the narrative switches toward Call of Duty is on Xbox, I bet you there will be a mass exodus from the PlayStation camp going toward that direction. Just because it has the general audience. And even if it is on the PlayStation, if they manage to, square away that deal, Sony doesn't want that deal because they had that deal before in the PlayStation 3 era, right? What was it before? PlayStation 3 era, Xbox 360. Xbox was the Call of Duty console. And as soon as they fell off, they signed that deal and they became the exclusivity. And then they got all those gamers. They got all that additional capital coming toward them. So they don't want that PS3 era. They don't want to have to work.
Yeah,
you look at Jim. You look at here's the thing. If Jim Ryan, this Jim Ryan era, it just seems like doing more with less, right? In other words, you just like have all this light spattering of things, remakes, all these other sort of things. Not even investing on new titles anymore. Closing down studios to buy other studios. I don't know.
I'm just reading this right now. It's just interesting. Yeah, obviously, Microsoft was still like, oh, we're committed to ensuring these games are available to all players, blah, blah, blah. Sony, they're still being belligerent and stuff like, no, this is going to harm us.
It just means that they have to work harder to get on top. And to be honest, like, do they have the even the former president of PlayStation even said this, you can't keep these high cost games going all the time. Yeah. Something needs to give somewhere. So he said, in order to get more titles out there, we need to start lowering the budgets on these things and making smaller games so that we can start putting out more games.
Yeah. Hold on real quick. Shout out to Mob Hits with the bits, man. Good stuff.
Mob Hits with the bits. Thanks.
Yeah, you're right about that. No, that's the thing, because like Sony was offered basically a 10-year deal, and they said no.
Yeah, because they're not getting the narrative off of that.
They don't want a piece of pie. They want the whole thing or most of it.
Yeah, they want the most of the pie. They want it to be the way it was. Where if you watch a commercial or you see sort of ads, you see any of those sorts of things, you look at your websites, you only see on PlayStation.
Yeah. No, that's exactly what's going on. And here's something interesting because the CMA did this whole big study, right? And here's something that we've been saying forever, right? Because the reason one of the main reasons Sony is scared is because they know what happened when during the network outage, right? A lot of Call of Duty players, they jump ship. I know Adam doesn't want to believe it, but a lot of people play Call of Duty on PlayStation. That's probably the best-selling game. I know they have their exclusive, but I guarantee you Call of Duty sells more on PlayStation than anything. Anyway, so they did their study. 24% of the gamers they surveyed said they will leave PlayStation to get an Xbox to play Call of Duty. Yeah, big fucking shock there. You know?
That's exactly what's going to happen. Again,
and that's what Sony's afraid of. They don't want that.
But and the thing is, they only say it on the belief that it's only going to be on that console.
Yeah.
Like, what if they signed this? What if they say Sony said, took the ill and said, all right, we still want this thing on our console. Who's to say that they're still not going to leak players over there?
They may,
especially if
there's like exclusive content,
Because if the narrative, the exterior narrative is saying, oh, it's on, you only see Xbox on there, then what are people going to think?
Yeah, they're going to think
it's only an Xbox.
Exactly. And again, we've seen this before. Where dudes are. We tell the story a million times, but it's always pertinent, right? Manny and I were when GameStop, right? Like this was during the PS3 era, right? And Call of Duty is obviously the new one came out, and there was a guy there who was upset. He was like, "Man, I wish Call of Duty was on PS3." And we're like, "What are you talking about? It is." He's like, "But it says Xbox." Like, and then that's when we learned, like, oh, damn, that marketing really does work. Like Manny and I, obviously, we knew what's up. This was even before we're industry. We already knew what was up. But regular people, normies, they don't pay attention to that. They look at the commercial, they see that swash that says Xbox or PlayStation, they just go, oh shit, I could only get it on that system. And that's what these companies count on,
Yeah. At least when it comes to brand exclusivity, that's literally a thing. Now, just again, controlling the narrative to the general audience. Again, with a game that is general audience, again, it's in the zeitgeist. It's as far as anybody outside of the gaming space thinks, this is the shooter game.
Yeah.
It's Shooter Man.
Exactly. Yeah, right? Exactly. Bob Hits making it rain tonight.
Bob Hits with the bits.
So again, this whole thing's heating up, and we got to talk about Bobby Kotick, man.
Oh, what is he doing, man? Why is he even around? Why is he even talking?
Well, he's talking, but anyway, he says that he is basically accusing Sony of trying to sabotage the MS deal. Yes, they are. Obviously.
No, they totally are.
They totally are. It's like, come on, guy.
But here's the thing, like,
but here's the interesting thing about this. Not just that, he said that Jim Ryan has stopped talking to both Microsoft and Activision.
Well, yeah. Well,
I'm giving you the silent treatment
because Jimbo wants his way.
Yeah,
he wants to be the.
I told you this would spawn bad blood.
But the thing about it is, number one, Jimmy, if by ignoring or by not even humoring any of this, humoring any of this stuff, what is the guarantee that he is going to have a pot to piss in after the dust has settled? Will Activision even want to do a fucking business with him?
Yeah.
After this thing, right?
Well, they're not going to make Call of Duty exclusive to
no
Xbox.
Yeah, but why wouldn't they just give Microsoft a timed exclusive deal going 10 years down the road?
Yeah. Well, how is he? Essentially.
Sorry, Manny, but I do, Chris. A timed exclusive sounds a lot better as opposed to an exclusive.
Yeah, I mean it does, but Jim Ryan is kind of I think he's cutting off his nose to spite his face here in this situation. It's you don't want to piss these guys off, because if you break this deal, if this deal's off and Activision is now back to being its own entity and stuff, there's no guarantee you're going to get any type of favorable treatment or equitable treatment anymore going forward in terms of business dealings or wanting advertising exclusivity or whatever. That might be out the window completely,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is getting... so Bobby Kotick said, suddenly Sony's entire leadership team stopped talking to anyone at Microsoft. Damn.
Oh, man.
Damn. It's getting spicy, boy.
Well, the thing about it is, like, I don't think that's the best way to do. I think they really they still needed to keep that thing, keep it cordial, right?
Yeah.
Just walk off. You're not fucking Nintendo. You don't own the scene. It could just as easily turn the other way. If Kotick is Kotick doesn't really wanted this shit to happen, and all the investors wanted this happen, they could literally pull out of that deal. The deal,
Yeah.
because I know obviously once Microsoft takes over, the Sony deal is null and void, right? Right? They have
Yeah.
X amount of time with the
Yeah.
Call of Duty franchise. So what? They could just eat the cost of that shit and say, no, you're just gonna say this as an Xbox thing and sign a full on exclusivity deal with them and say fuck you to Sony.
Yeah. And did you guys?
Oh,
I don't know
PlayStation.
if I missed it. Did you guys talk about the Capcom World Tour, switching hardware? The
Yes.
Street Fighter guys.
Oh
Did
no,
you?
not yet.
No, we didn't talk about that.
Okay, well, that's another area where Sony was trying to, they kind of bullied the FGC to be the Capcom World Tour to be PS5 exclusive. So all these guys who play had to play on PS5, right? And the competition used PS5.
Wow.
Well, Capcom dropped them like a sack of shit. They're like, we're going PC now, right? Because all the FGC guys were like, they can't stand the input lag on PS5, and no matter what they did, they couldn't. Capcom couldn't fix it, so they're like, fuck, we're going to PC. All these guys are like, can we just play Street Fighter on PC? And they're like, yeah, okay, we're just going to PC for the World Tour now, and that's it. So Sony's out as the official system of the Capcom World Tour.
Damn. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
Yeah, so there you go. And Capcom and Sony has their own convention too, don't they own
The Evo. They have Evo.
Evo?
Yeah.
They bought Evo, yeah.
That
So-
shit is nuts, man.
So there's
yeah.
there's legitimate lag on their console from
That's
their
the main
online
complaint
service?
from the Street Fighter guys, yeah. That 5 has input lag, so when they compete, they're not getting the performance they expected, right?
Oh.
So, but on PC, they're like, it's butter. Okay,
It's
so
better.
Capcom's like, okay, then we'll use PCs then.
Good stuff.
Yeah. All right. What else do we have to talk about? Okay, I want to talk about this. This is another because a lot of things came out during this CMA thing, their investigation here. New data, and this is from Hunter. And shout out to Next Gen Player. We follow each other on Twitter. Good guy. Bit of a Sony guy, but he's cool. New data in the CMA response to Xbox Activision deal. Global console. Okay, so in 2021, Xbox's global share was 10 to 20%. PlayStation was 40 to 50%. Nintendo was 30 to 40%. Sony has sold twice as many consoles as Xbox globally. PlayStation has more than twice the amount of monthly users as Xbox. So, and it's funny how like Xbox is using this to prove, see, so Sony's actually doing better than us. Like, it's okay for us to buy things. Like, yeah, but then you're admitting they're kicking your ass.
Is that a secret?
Yeah, no, nobody. But they didn't officially announce it until all this happened, Brett. That's the.
Well, it's
funny
not
part.
really good PR unless you're trying to get some out of it.
Yeah, but isn't it also kind of was like, oh yeah, we're actually not that good, guys. Like, I don't know. It just seems weird to me.
I mean, I honestly wouldn't advise anything differently.
Yeah. No, I mean, I get it, and I probably would advise the same thing, but it's just weird to be like, actually, we're not all that. We actually really are in third place, And like this is coming from them, after like years of them hiding shit,
Yeah, well, because they can't hide anything. They have to say exactly how it is.
No, but the thing is, they're using it to prove a point, which is really interesting.
Here's the thing: like the thing about all of this is potential. It's all like it's all potential of like what would Game Pass and all of this be in its final form when it does finally hit its stride, when they are releasing games to really start sucking people in. They haven't really reached that point yet.
Yeah.
Those sorts of games that said, okay, this is why you own Game Pass. Some would say it's because some would say Hi-Fi Rush is one of those reasons, but they still need to keep hitting out bangers to get continue to pull people in, and they still haven't done it yet. But don't you think that once they're able to square all this stuff away, that would make Xbox a lot more attractive to people? I would think.
Yeah. I don't know. Brett, there's something you always talk about. Like, Microsoft's gonna have a hard time, like, getting into the good graces of gamers.
Yeah, I mean it's an uphill battle, man. What they earn, but
yeah. But again, like I feel like once you have, I don't think that people are just going to quit on those sought after games, those franchises that are going to be coming along with all of this acquisition junk. I don't think people are just going to be like, oh well, I don't want to buy that thing. No, they're probably going to go. People have, I would say in general, people have more allegiance to the titles than they do the actual consoles.
Yeah, some guys are loyal to the console, which is weird.
Yeah, like, oh man, I wish
Yeah.
To be honest, you should go where the games are. Don't. Doesn't matter what the consoles are doing.
Yeah. No, exactly.
If all the games that you want are on an Xbox, go get an Xbox. If all the games that you want are on a PlayStation, do that. Yep. Same with Nintendo. What was it? Tumek is into
Yeah, he likes Nintendo. He likes Nintendo and PlayStation. Yeah.
Yeah, that's his thing. He loves that stuff. So there you go. That's his consoles.
Yep, it's good stuff. Microsoft, he says they keep claiming they want to reach 2 billion gamers. Yeah, that's the goal. Here's the thing: if they actually, like, it's commendable. It's like, okay, I should say the logic makes sense, right? Okay, there's 2 billion people using smart devices. If we could reach them, that's 2 billion people. But obviously, as we've said, people who play phone games are not the same as console gamers. Very different kind of crowd. And again, the story that sticks with me, anecdotal obviously, but I think it illustrates the point. It's a story Brett told us, right? He's at his shop working on a customer, doing a tattoo on him. The guy's playing some fucking phone game. Brett hands him a Switch. Hey, play this. No, I'm happy with my phone game. Totally different mindset. They like the little clicky games. They don't want as much shit as I give the Switch. That is an actual real gaming system. It's not just some bullshit you click on your phone. But there are some people that like that. They don't want to deal with all that stuff. They don't want to deal with all those buttons. They just want the clicky shit. But if you try to introduce that into the mobile space, it's not really going to work. They don't want those kind of games. They want to have those stupid games where it's like, get this person over there without them drowning or some nonsense like that. Or one of those bullshit endless runners. If you can tell, I don't like mobile games, But yeah, it's a totally different crowd. So Microsoft, I understand their desire to reach 2 billion gamers. It ain't going to happen. I'm saying it right now. It ain't going to happen.
I think there's a lot of factors that need to happen in order for them to do that. And firstly, it involves them, again, just like with the Call of Duty thing, just getting in the zeitgeist as the company to play these games at, And I don't mean just the normal games. I mean, just the mobile stuff.
Yeah.
They're two different
things.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, by the way, I guess good segue. Speaking about Game Pass. So Xbox admitted that Xbox Game Pass cannibalizes game sales.
Yep.
Ain't that
and this
something?
doesn't. I mean, we've been saying this.
Yeah. But now it's the actual company saying this.
Yeah, I think in the chat, people are like, "Oh man, they say one thing and they say another." No, they say things to the public because it essentially averts their intentions. It takes the shine off their real intentions. And we've said this before. Their real thing, the real idea it's not about selling games. It's about getting people onto your service.
Yeah, let me ask what could possibly be a dumb question. If it didn't cannibalize game sales, why would they pay them?
Yeah, it's a good question.
Yeah.
Like, it naturally will have to cannibalize game sales.
I mean, it's part of the trade of the economics of the situation. I thought it was inherent to, were people out there saying, like, no, they sell just as many copies even though it's on Game Pass. Like, no. It's the whole point is Game Pass is how some people access the game and they get paid for it. And I thought the whole point was, like, the developer said they come out monetarily on top by doing it that way, in their opinion.
Yeah, it's inevitable that any successful streaming service will cannibalize whatever perceived old notion of fiscal successes for a product like that.
Yeah.
You know, but I think the reason why Microsoft's coming out like this is because they really haven't, and we've had plenty of discussions in particular the last couple of weeks on what defines a successful game on Game Pass, and you know, Microsoft hasn't really given us sort of the roadmap of how to determine how a game is successful, or the developers that release games in there. We all have our own interpretations of it. I lean more towards the side where I don't really know, and I think Microsoft pretty soon is going to start sort of communicating that to the audience, because when you have games like God of War that sold 10 million plus, or Elden Ring that sold 10 million plus, and you have games that come out like Halo Infinite or something like that, huge games like that, AAA first party Microsoft games, and when Starfield comes out, and they can't really tout those numbers like the other companies can, and maybe, you know, they'll be concerned, thinking, oh, maybe they don't think that our games are successful. Let's let them know, you know, what that is in our platform.
Yeah. Oh, Chris had a dip.
Yeah, he wasn't feeling so good.
It's all right. Yeah. Shout out to Chris.
Yeah, man.
And more
Chris
and more
is a
than
trooper,
just
man.
Yeah. And more and when I'm saying that Microsoft should convey something, it needs to be more than well, over 1 billion bullets have been shot in Halo Infinite.
That bullshit. So
But yeah.
stupid.
Yeah. It's gonna be it's gonna be an interesting time if they start, if they continue the momentum with you know, with the games that they're releasing. They just start pulling out these cool titles. Yeah, there's got to be something in there that they have to be able to advertise, you know. And again, keep the ball rolling. Let's hope they have some more stuff going on, you know.
Yeah, something good, because it just seems like their biggest games are ones they bought from other companies, you know.
Yeah, well, I've said this before. I think I have no doubt that Hi-Fi Rush was going to be a multi-platform title. At least given the time frame of the acquisition, they were already working on that thing. That thing was going to be a full-on release. But
Yeah,
I feel like it got held back because of the plain fact the acquisition happened.
And the interesting thing about that game, if you were to ask me if Hi-Fi Rush is a success, I would say yes.
I'd say it was a success, but I also think it's a success, maybe because of the fact that there's no barrier to entry.
I have to be that guy.
Mm-hmm.
By what metric?
Go ahead, Carlos.
So the reason why I mentioned that is, and I have no, and this is just me, you know, obviously I don't know at the end of the day. I'm just my perception of it. Hi-Fi Rush is not a AAA game. It's probably, you know, more leaning towards a AA type title for Bethesda. I think, what was it, Bethesda that released it?
Yeah.
Tango Game Works for Bethesda, yes.
Under Bethesda. Okay, yeah. So Tango Games released that game. It's probably a AA game at best. And it's gotten so much attention. And I feel like no AA games get this type of attention that Hi-Fi Rush does. I think by that, I think it's more towards a success for me than it isn't. If this was a AAA game, if this was Starfield, and all we had was a hype, similar to how Halo Infinite was, then I feel like it would have been tougher sell for me to say that it was a success, because I feel like there's a lot more parameters that we would need to take into account, since these games take millions upon millions upon millions to sell and advertise. And I feel like Hi-Fi Rush wasn't even advertised that much. It was on a press conference, and that same day it was out, and everyone was talking about it.
I think the part of it that there's no barrier to entry for it. It's just there. You know, it's a nice looking game. is out there. It does the job that it needs to do. I don't think it would have had the same attention if it didn't have a clear dance floor. Like if it didn't, we have so many things that are literally releasing at the same time. What was it? Hogwarts. What was it? Dead Space. And Forspoken. All those games literally released at the same time, and Hi-Fi Rush got some shine in there, which is interesting. Just maybe just the conversation. It could just be that. Maybe a lot of people downloaded and played a little bit of it, but it got at least got a little bit of attention within those big heavy hitters, which you don't often see happen with a small game like that.
I see that. Yeah, go ahead.
I see that game on the level of a Gravity Rush, where it's like it's a middle A sort of title.
And Gravity Rush got nowhere near the buzz that Hi-Fi Rush did.
No.
Gravity Rush, Hi-Fi Rush, huh?
Yeah.
Hi-Fi Rush.
I need to go back to a previous segment. Because, okay, so do we agree that having games on Game Pass cannibalizes sales? Is that something we agree on?
Yes.
So by that same token, can't you say Sony has been justified by not putting their games day one on a service similar to that? Because they flat out said, we don't want our games to be, cut off, because the reason I bring this up is because a lot of people were saying Sony is wrong for saying that will not happen. Now Microsoft is admitting it does happen.
Well,
Sony was right the whole time. For having the games on there,
they are most definitely right. Nobody's saying that they were ever wrong. Well, at least we weren't saying that they were wrong, because it obviously makes sense. It kills their.
That's the word I was looking for. I'm sorry, matey. So they specifically real quick before I forget. Undervalues their games. That's the thing
what they
Sony
said.
said. So if Microsoft, let me finish. If Microsoft is essentially saying that Xbox Game Pass is undermining their games or whatever, why are we giving Sony shit for saying the same thing?
Well, cannibalizing game sales.
Yeah. No, but basically it's the same kind of thing. It's like Sony's worried that they're going to lose. Let me finish. Let me finish. Sony is basically saying we're going to lose game sales if we have our games available on this service. Microsoft admitted that happened, but people give shit to Sony for saying that. Why?
We're trying to tell you.
Yeah, no, but I needed to fully explain it. So go ahead.
I mean, like it's a net different. Like it's kind of a false equivalency there. Like it just because it cannibalizes their game sales doesn't mean it was a poor decision for Microsoft to make and a good decision for Sony to avoid, right? Like it's all about their brand, their brand investment, and how much total money they're making. The money that they're making from Game Pass could very easily offset the money that they're spending on content. Like you don't know that and that's the problem. Like we've talked, there's no equivalency here. Like you can't say that just because it would have had more game sales one way that is more successul.
But we're going to go down this rabbit hole again, aren't we?
But we've been down this rabbit hole, and for the same reason, you can't say that like Hi-Fi Rush is successful because a lot of people play it. You can't just say because a game sold a lot that it was successful now.
That's stupid.
Right? Like, okay.
If a game sells well, it obviously is a success. Like I will not see that ground to anybody.
You think Valhalla was successful for the Assassin's Creed brand?
If it sold a lot, yeah.
Okay, I think it was detrimental.
And obviously they made 5 fucking expansions, so it obviously was a success.
I don't think it was good for the brand.
Not good for the brand and not successful. Those are two different things.
In this instance, they are the same thing, though.
How? If it sold a lot, that's success. That's a success right there.
Okay. Do you like? It's for the same reason that people give promotions to bring people into their service or business. Yes, they are paying, the bank pays to give you that fucking toaster, to use a really dated example, right? But the business that they get from giving you that toaster offsets the cost of that toaster. So you could say, is it dumb for them to give away free toasters when the other bank isn't giving away free toasters? Well, clearly, yes. Well, not necessarily if that bank has gotten an increase in customers from giving away those toasters that offsets the cost of those toasters plus then some.
Yeah,
So,
but
I mean,
again,
that's actually a very good example, Brett. Like,
thank you.
Because
Yeah.
like if you think about it, like what is
Yeah, but
Wait,
listen,
the
I'm actually me and Bliss on the same. Like, I don't understand that fucking analogy.
Manny, the
people want.
toaster example or the Valhalla example? Because
the toaster,
the toaster one went right over my head.
Okay, so the thing about it is, it's the same sort of idea as
mental gymnastics.
No, it's not mental
That's
gymnastics. It's essentially what if you let's say you swapped out toaster for free games.
Okay.
Do you understand it now? It's the same situation. What the bank is looking, or the business is doing, is looking to put asses in seats and people to invest in their product, or whatever their
but that's not what I'm talking about, though. Mm-hmm. I'm saying I'm looking at Sony's perspective here. They don't want to lose game sales to a subscription service, right?
Oh no,
and Microsoft has just said it is losing game sales because of the subscription service. So I'm just saying I understand where Sony's coming from.
They didn't say that they're losing money, though.
No, they didn't say that, but they said it cannibalizes game sales. But game sales are money, though. Hold on, what am I talking about? Game sales are money.
So are subscriptions.
It cannibalizes game sales, but
sales
at the same time,
the game, you know?
For the specific games. Yes, it does. It cannibalizes specific revenue for a specific game, unless they sell off a
and that's
DLC.
what Sony doesn't want. Understand?
Yes, that's what Sony doesn't want. They don't want that to be the norm, because their business model is dependent on there being some sort of game out there. So again, there's in one sense, Microsoft is selling a subscription service with a bunch of games on there, whereas they maybe the better example is the movie industry and Netflix, right?
Hold on. Tony, I know a great example. Why would companies give you free video games? That's not if you ask a game company, is it prudent and financially responsible to be giving free games to game reviewers? If you look at it on paper, you're like, no, you're losing money. Each copy you give you is a potential sale.
You don't understand how reviews work, do you? If
that's
you get
the point.
Yeah, no. Okay, you got it. Okay, I'm the reviewer here, but teach me how this works.
Okay, well, no. Finish your thought. Go ahead.
No, if the thought is you give a game code to a reviewer, that review could in turn get a lot of sales. Understand? So they're willing to sacrifice one game code on the chance that they're going to get a lot of sales. Understand?
Yeah. So giving some people things that's the point.
Yeah, but that code doesn't really cost them much. Understand? Because they don't. I'm being very specific when I say code. We don't get physical games. That doesn't happen anymore. You know, so that little cost doesn't really mean much. You know, but again, my point is I understand where Sony's coming from, and it's kind of disingenuous to give them shit for saying that when Microsoft just admitted they're losing game sales. That's what I'm trying to get at.
It's cannibalizing. Okay, I still think it's possible for Microsoft to be cannibalizing their own sales, but yet still be bringing in more than if they didn't. Like, it's like saying that, okay,
go ahead.
If we put the game out like as per usual, we would have gotten like 10 million sales, for example. But then by putting it on Game Pass and having the game out, then we cannibalize 1 million sales, but then we bring in 4 million sales. So hence, it's a total gain of, instead of having 10 million, they have like 13 million. So even though that they have cannibalized some of their sales, that cannibalization still is able to bring in more than what it ate.
I get that, but I'm saying
that's why I say that. And again, that's why I say that Sony's full of nonsense, because like, you will cannibalize it, but then if it's all for the betterment of the products, then why the hell not?
Yeah, but they're not seeing it that way. That's what I'm trying to
get.
No,
of course not.
You know?
No, they're not, because
they're all stupid.
Yeah. By the way, Blitz asked how many Xbox exclusives were in the top 20 sales each month, and that's what Sony wants. They want their games on there. You know, so I get where they're coming from, right or wrong.
So you're saying Microsoft would be doing better right now if you had to pay full price for all of their games?
I don't know if he's saying that.
No,
well, that's the other option.
I think the thing about it is that for Microsoft is they're trying to play a different game. They obviously feel like they can't compete at the same level as Sony. So what do? You put out a service. Now the thing again, Sony is seeing what the service industry has done to music and what has done to the movie industry, and they don't want to see that affect their bottom line, because again, I don't think that Sony can compete on the same level as Microsoft when it comes to infrastructure or digital distribution, like streaming and all that junk.
Well, you're also kind of conflating it. They said it would devalue their games.
Yeah.
Right. Like that's a different thing.
I think you're getting caught up with the devalue thing, because I don't think it's that the fact that it devalues their game. It's just the fact that they can't justify the cost anymore.
Well, they think it waters down their brand. It ruins their image of exclusivity.
Yeah.
I think that's just marketing bullshit. I think that what it really is that they can't justify the cost that they spend on their games if it was just a streaming game, or if it was just a fully digital title, like what Microsoft is doing. Essentially, Microsoft is pretty much pouring money down the drain at the hopes that it would make more money, whereas Sony is quantifying their sales, quantifying what their sales is as part of what pays for their games.
Yeah, no, I agree. And like I think those are just two different options to try and kind of get to the same place and the same demographic. And time will tell if Microsoft's gamble pays off, because we haven't seen anything from it. But I don't think admitting that it cannibalizes game sales is foolhardy in any way, because again, they're looking at the greater picture.
Something has to come from somewhere. If you're going to go...
There you go.
Yep, you got to have something.
Have something.
My version of got to have something is kind of like, the way, what's his face said, with great power with great power comes great responsibility in Amazing Spider-Man. Remember that? You reset it all a long way around? Anyway, but like, I think, in this situation, I don't think either one of these guys are wrong. I think that, yes, for Microsoft, yes, they have to cannibalize their own video game sales, because in light of people investing in the service, getting their service is cheaper than buying.
Yeah, because they can't compete on game sales, so they had to go.
They can't.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have to essentially. You have to essentially looking at the service in a whole and putting that against one of Sony's AAA titles.
I honestly, I was thinking about this the other day. I think it's the right option, because we've talked about, or at least I've talked about, how Microsoft has kind of ruined the benefit of the doubt with a lot of people. Like, I think their approach of kind of reducing the wall of investment to get into their ecosystem was a smart move when people are as reticent as they are.
Well, I think. Oh, go ahead, Carlos. Everything can be right at the same time with all this, everything that we're discussing, because Microsoft needed a new business plan, because the one that they were running clearly wasn't working. So they needed to change the game for their sakes. And Sony has been at the top or second place, if we're considering Nintendo, every single generation they've ever existed. So they're not going to change from their business model, because it's clearly working for them. So they're not going to make this drastic change like Microsoft is doing, because Microsoft is doing it out of desperation. Sony is looking at them and saying, well, it's clearly stupid for us to change something so drastically, because we're making bank right now.
Yeah, and the thing, it goes back to the toe dip situation with them. They only make decisions when there are a surefire thing, where it's like, again, you have a toe dip like a handheld, a toe dip like their services. It's because they haven't seen the other guys making any sort of see Microsoft making any headway on this, so they're not going to make that decision. As soon as, again, we said this before, as soon as Microsoft starts hitting bank off of this thing, as soon as, like, if you get multiple hi-fi rushes in a row, getting people to get onto their service.
By the way, just real quick, do we know that subscriptions have gone up because of
we don't know anything about the subscriptions. They haven't released any subscription data.
Just want to be sure about that.
It's just based on public reaction.
Twitter reaction. Let's just
Twitter reaction, public reaction.
Globe. Anyway, go on.
but yeah,
not just Twitter. Jesus, man.
But it's doing well on Steam, but it helps it. Like it helps to get the narrative on there. It's fine, whatever. But if you get more games that get people talking, again, we talk about like, Tony, you hate fucking Fall Guys, but you know what? That game was a free game too, and a bunch of people jumped on it, and people on Twitter were all over it.
Yeah, it's a Twitter game.
The same. Yeah. It's the same sort of idea. Though I would say Hi-Fi Rush is a much better title than Fall Guys. But yeah, as long as it's getting the narrative out there that was a Game Pass makes quality games. Now, the thing about it is, can they keep this momentum? Is this just an island?
That's the question I was going to ask. Yeah,
that's the thing. Is like
that's the question we've been asking since.
Yeah, like because right now Game Pass subscriptions have stalled. Even Microsoft has admitted this.
Yeah, so they've stalled right now. So here's what. So like, did that game pull any new players in?
Yeah, we don't know.
Did it? Or if it just got people talking, which is still good advertising, and if it does hit a little bit of the other spaces, like going onto the the Steam area. I heard it was a lot. It did pretty good on Steam during that week because the narrative got pretty high on there. But if they can keep putting out things that get people talking, get people into the room, that is when you start seeing success. You start seeing more subscribers. That's where they gauge their success at.
At the end of the day, and we always mention this, these companies don't care about you.
Yep.
They're gonna run whatever business model they feel will generate the most money for them. Mm-hmm. And if that means Sony has to do a Game Pass type system, then they'll do it. But at the current time, they don't need it, and they're not gonna.
And they're not going to give it up either.
They have no incentive to change their business model.
They're not going to give up their business model because again, they're not. Again, all we've been talking about since Game Pass has come to life is its potential, which it hasn't reached yet. It's not hitting those numbers like Netflix or any of those other streaming services like that.
Yeah, but when it does, well, those streaming services are doing lately.
Well, because they all made the mistake of raising their prices during a recession.
Yeah.
So people, what is the first thing that gets cut? You cut the cable. Yeah. You cut the cable. You cut it down to one thing, right?
Yeah, you don't need to see Stranger Things, man.
You don't need to see. Well, but that's what the one thing that they did is that they started moving to a what is it called? Yeah, like a weekly thing, like television does, is because they want to keep people there long enough, to continue to stay in there. Because usually what happens is once those big, sought after shows come on there, people subscribe for maybe, for forever how long that that's up there. They binge the whole damn thing and then cut it off. So you don't need to spend a lot of money, right?
Yeah. All right, good stuff, man. I think we're done here. Good show. Do we have anything to plug?
Not here. I mean, what about the I Am Negan camp, Carlos?
Well,
I am Pedro Pascal camp.
I am Pedro. I Am Negan is still on hiatus, but it does lead to a good segue to another spin-off show of the Coalition Gaming Network. And that's the spoiler reviews for The Last of Us. If anyone is watching the TV show The Last of Us, the last episode that aired was episode 4 last Sunday. We'll get episode 5 on Friday because of the Super Bowl. So probably around Saturday, we'll have our review on the Coalition Gaming account on YouTube. Or you can go to thecoalition.com to find that out. And it's a spoiler podcast on The Last of Us with Adam Vale, Richard Bailey Jr., and myself. So make sure to check it out.
Good stuff, man. All right, so we are done here. So make sure you follow Throwdown on Twitch and Twitter. Join the Discord where the conversations and the rumors are always popping. You can also find us on any podcast app by searching for Throwdown Show. That's 2 words, Throwdown Show, throwdownshow.com to listen to past episodes. And if you've been watching us on YouTube and enjoyed the content, make sure you hit like, subscribe, and hit the bell to be notified of when our premieres go live. Links to everything down below. Once again, I was your host, Tony Polanco. And tonight I was joined by Emilio Lopez.
See you next time.
Carlos Romero.
Peace out.
Brett Murdoch.
Deuces.
And Brian Manjoma.
I love how she who must not be named is getting people very riled up.
Yeah. By the way, the game that cannot be spoken of, highly rated, also selling a lot, pre-orders, and it's probably going to be one of the biggest selling games of the year. Guess that boycott didn't go the way you planned, did it?
Barbara Streisand.
All right, people. We'll see you on Sunday. Later.
Peace.
Laters.
This is